Hi, this is Bazi. In previous session, we learned or known about the history of breathing and also physical process of breathing. Now we have to understand and how this miraculous mechanism occurs in our respiratory system. We know the respiration is nothing but intake of air and exhalation of air, that is intake of oxygen, and then we breathe out the carbon dioxide. This is the process of respiration. But how? We know that life is impossible without respiration. Basically, all the life evolved from the water. From the very beginning, the earliest and simplest form of life, that is bacteria, which extracted oxygen from the water through their cell membranes by the process called a simple diffusion. In which what happens, the material transport from high concentration to low concentration. So it balances out. This diffusion works with a zero effort. For bacteria it is possible, but for a man how it is possible? At early life, the microbes have tiny outer surfaces in which they require only little amount of oxygen to survive. But in the process of evolution, the life changes from single cell to multicellular level. It needs bulk amount of oxygen to survive. So the respiratory system moves outside of the body to the inside of the body to transport this bulk amount of oxygen to each and every cell. In this process, circulatory system also evolved. Then the first organs evolved is gills, but these gills only work in the water. Gradually, in the process of evolution, the surface water and globe become warmer and warmer, and the organisms moves from water to land. And in this process, the evolutionary process takes place because the oxygen concentration is depleted in water bodies. In the process, then the lobed fin fish interfaces with atmospheric oxygen and their cell membranes develop into wet spongy like lungs. These lungs are evolved in all higher groups of other animals in different groups, and in which different mechanisms are involved in exchange of gases. Then the ultimate respiratory system evolved in human beings. It evolved with bunch of equipments like with entry gate of nostrils, with stiff trachea embedded in a bunch of bones, that is rib cage, with the floor of diaphragm, which is also roof to the abdomen. Within the room of thoracic cavity. All these are a bunch of equipments we may see in our respiratory system. In this evolutionary process, the circulatory system becomes best friend and a business partner to the respiratory system. Both partnership makes bulk flow of oxygen and diffusion at cellular level. We know about diffusion, that is the simple movement of gases from high concentration to low concentration, and this is first proposed by Fick's. We call it as Fick's law of simple diffusion. The efficient diffusion depends on distance. Is diffusion is enough in the process of respiration at multicellular level? For a single cell it is okay, for multicellular level, but it is impossible. Then oxygen directly moves into your skin and then to your skull and then to connective tissue and then to your brain. Is it possible? It's like the walking all the way to attending your public exam, which is 20 miles away from your home. While attending, your exam may be over. For this efficient diffusion of oxygen to avoid distance, it needs a better transport system which carry a bulk amount of oxygen to each and every cell in our body. This moves large number of molecules at a time like a public transport system in which you are going to your exam. In every breath, it may be 1 quintillion molecules of oxygen will enter and they move each and every cell at a time. We already know about the organs involved in the process of breathing. The process of breathing air into the lungs is inhalation or inspiration. The process of breathing out of air is nothing but exhalation or expiration. This is called as respiration. Let us know about the mechanism involved in the process of respiration. The main organs involved in the respiration is our lungs. We can't see our lungs, but we can feel our lungs by placing our hand on our chest. Breathe deeply, your chest getting slightly bigger than normal size like this. Breathe out, then your chest become its regular size. You know, in this involuntary action of draw air in and push out air is a simple diffusion. It involves coordination of various types of nervous system, especially the central nervous system, that is autonomic nervous system, and different types of muscles and bones and skin. You know, this process starts at nose. When air enters into your nose, it passes through nasal cavity, throat or pharynx, and then to larynx, and then to trachea, and then to bronchi, and then to bronchioles, and then to air sacs. The central nervous system controls the rate of breathing, where the autonomic nervous system sends the signals to the muscles around the respiratory system, where the autonomic nervous system, that is unconscious center of our brain, sends signals to muscles around our respiratory system. The muscles like intercostal muscles and diaphragm. The main muscle in breathing process is diaphragm, which is a dome-like shaped muscle. It is the dome-shaped muscle consisting various types of large muscles which is present and acted as a roof over the abdomen and floor to the thoracic cavity, and it separates both thoracic and abdominal cavities. The intercostal muscles which lies between the ribs, and both internal and external intercostal muscles both are run with the ribs to carry the process of respiration. To inhale air, the diaphragm expands and move out. The external and intercostal muscles are also expand and force the ribs out. The external and intercostal muscles also contracting and expanding, and which makes the rib cage up and forcing out. The combined effect of both intercostal muscles and diaphragm increases the volume of chest cavity of lungs and expands the lungs. This expansion of lungs increases their volume and decreases their pressure within them, and it leads to drawing of air in due to process of diffusion, and this is called as inhalation or inspiration. This action is similar to the piston which is sucking petrol into the car engine. After that, the process occurs in reverse. That means your rib cage and diaphragm and different muscles are going to its normal position. These changes increases the pressure on the lungs. The spongy and elastic tissue squeezes air out through the nose to the surrounding atmosphere. This is called as expiration or exhalation, and it is due to simple process of diffusion or pressure gradation. This process is exactly same as our vehicles releases waste gas to the outside. This is the mechanism involved in the process of respiration. We understand that the whole physical process or mechanisms involved in the process of respiration. Now we have to understand how various types of biochemical pathways involved in the process of respiration. For this, we must understand the structure of the lung. The lungs are the main respiratory organs in the respiratory system. You know, our lungs are spongy in nature. Both of our lungs are not in same size. You know, our left lung is slightly smaller than our right lung. Our right lung have 3 lobes, whereas left lung have only 2 lobes. Our left lung is smaller because it creates a space for placing our heart. The lungs are protected by 2 thin membranes called as pleurae. In between the pleurae, a fluid which is present is called as pleural fluid, which protects our lungs from the shocks and also from the damage, and also it helps sliding over inner organs to avoid friction, and also it aids in the expansion of spongy lung tissue while respiration. It's a very tricky and simple process involved in the exchange of gases. The main function of our respiratory system is it brings oxygen into our body. It allows us to exhale carbon dioxide out from our body, which is the waste gas producing during process of energy making. We know that the inhalation through nose, throat, and then to windpipe and then to lungs. As we breathe in, muscles are working to inflate the lungs. Already we know that the mechanism of respiration. Now we have to understand the exchange of gases takes place which alive us. The air travels down to the end of the breathing tube. Air enters the tiny air sacs, that is alveoli, through alveolar ducts. The tiny air sacs are filled with oxygen from air traveling down from the breathing tubes, covering each tiny air sac with a whole network of tiny blood vessels called the capillaries. Within the air sacs, the oxygen enters into the bloodstream by the process called as simple diffusion or gaseous exchange. These air sacs have extremely thin walls with a large surface areas lined with fluid to enable gases to dissolve. The oxygen particles from the inhaled air passes through the walls of tiny air sacs and surrounding capillaries and into the red blood cells inside. The oxygen particles then carried in the blood through pulmonary arteries to heart, and which pumps oxygenated blood to the entire body. As the oxygen particles diffuse to the tiny walls of air sacs into the blood streams, carbon dioxide, a waste product of our body, is traveling in opposite direction. The deoxygenated blood, which is carried from different types of organs and tissues back to the lungs through veins. Carbon dioxide is diffused from the blood through the capillaries into the air within the tiny air sacs. Now the tiny air sacs are saturated with carbon dioxide. Then the exhalation takes place. Then the diaphragm relaxes and air is forced to expire out of the lungs. the air travels back up the breathing tubes and it expires into the atmosphere. The lungs are lot like a balloons in that they requires energy to expand, but no energy is needed to get out of the air. It makes exhalation is an automatic response to inhalation. By this process of respiration, the gaseous composition is changed from inhaled gas to exhaled gas. The total capacity of human lung is nearly about 5500 to 6000 milliliters. Normally at rest we inhale or exhale about 500 milliliters, whereas our lung have stored about 1200 milliliters of air, otherwise it will squeeze and stuck. The highest lung capacity we may see in blue whales. It has 5000 liters of air capacity in its lungs, whereas on land elephants also have heavy lung capacity. We may measure total lung capacity by doing simple activities by filling a balloon. And try this in your school activities, and try this a special activity to measure or to know the capacity of your lungs. In this manner, the exchange of gases takes place in our lungs. Till now we understand the process of breathing and mechanism involved in it and how the gases are exchanged within the system. And in next time we will meet and discuss different types of how these gases are carried, that means transportation of gases takes place within our system, and also how the production of energy takes place in our body through the process called breakdown of food material by using this respiratory system, which is an energy yielding process. We will discuss in next time. Until then, bye bye students.